other cheap
Quakes
stuff
and all that stuff.
Yeah, Magnum Quake or Magnum. Come bubble.
Oh yeah. An EDH guy, like to cast spells guy, just can't draw enough guy, board always full guy. I'm that bad type, killing your stuff type, removing your commander type, might exile your grave type. I'm the bad guy. Duh.
Yeah, so bad guy. Billie Eilish.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, I am hip.
And I had only heard it once because of the morning show. Cause
I've actually listened to this multiple times.
Yeah, so I had only heard it once. The morning show's daughter is into the song. And so I was like, oh, I kind of know that song, so I'll listen to it. And then I was like, I actually like this song, so I'm going to download it. And now my kids love it. So since we almost did a double cast last week.
Yeah.
So I had it memorized last week. I got it down this week because then I heard it about 300 times. Whereas last week when I came to the podcast, I was like, I'm going to have to listen to the song beforehand to try to get the beat. And then this week I'm like,
it makes it so much easier when you
head.
know the song really well to get it down. And oh boy.
Welcome to CommanderSmiths.
We are the CommanderSmiths.
I'm Adam Smith.
And I'm Lowry Smith.
Don't worry.
We're cousins.
This is episode numero 87. For
Can
English
you 87
people.
Spanish? That's
20.
No. That's like 20.
Yeah, you're right. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 87? Y7? Something like that. I think.
Yeah,
I probably said it all.
good.
People are going to be pissed like, no, you fucked it up.
That sounds good enough for me.
If you guys don't speak
87.
Spanish, it is 87.
Number 87.
Number 87. Oh, yeah.
You said 87 in English.
I've already had a beer to start off the episode. My ears are warm.
Yeah, so we're drinking Jocovesa from
Stone.
Stone.
What is that in English?
It's Mayan, I believe, but it's a imperial stout inspired by Mexican hot chocolate. I might have done this last year. It's one of my favorite beers.
That's good. It's good. I like the dark beer makes it so I drink a lot slower. My ears turn red though.
It's cute.
It's my color. So this week we have quite a bit on the docket. I think this is going to be
it's going to be a normal.
I don't think it is.
You think it's going to be longer?
We're gonna have
I think you're really excited about
one thing in
bit.
particular. Well, basically we have our Spotlight adventure deck that Lowry made. We're going to go over that.
Yeah.
Which commanders?
Ended up going with Ravos
and
Thrasios.
And then we kind of have a new little segment called Commander Breakdown.
Yeah, and so instead of going like spotlight into
each one,
we're just going to look at some of the more powerful ones and talk about what we would do with it.
It is kind of interesting.
Name off a couple of cards.
We both were like, all right, we're going to break down the Brawl deck commanders and then one other one.
Yeah.
And we both kind of came up with different but similar ideas with certain things.
Yeah,
so
I think we were excited about different things about the card.
And then we get into the thing I was excited about if you guys are on Twitter. Hashtag dollar to duels. So a new thing that I'm kind of promoting a little bit to see if people want to jump on board. I tried to convince Lowry. He's kind of like, man,
and I'll give my opinions on it. It's not, we'll see.
He has a good
I'm probably
reason.
not going to do it.
He has a good reason why, because it's a little more difficult to trade the way that we're doing this. But we'll talk about that more there. And then we finish up with anal question from Jeremy this week.
A&L questions.
Or, did I say anal question?
Doesn't matter. I'm just repeating and reiterating.
What? A&L questions.
A&L questions. Hashtag.
There we go. It was your son's birthday today.
It was. Oh,
you have a pack to open.
You gave me
on
a pack.
Tradition. When it's one of our kids' birthday, you buy packs. I have 2 kids, so I get packs twice as much in the year.
We'll see about that. That sounded bad. No. It's not.
Are you gonna kill one of my kids?
No, we're not. A bunch of commons, which is pretty normal.
What'd you get?
Oh, Once Upon a Time.
Oh, there you go.
That's a very good card.
You got $12 right there.
Yeah, I'm gonna trade that right away.
I know. I'm trying to decide. I got
I don't know
one
what to do with it.
I got a foil one and a normal one.
Yeah.
And I was gonna sell the normal one, but I'm on the fence if that one's gonna continue to go up because it's being used everywhere.
It's gonna be used a ton. I think.
So that's where I'm like, I kind of want to hold on to that card. So
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you kindly.
I told you I had a story to tell you
Oh, yeah.
between the party and here.
I wasn't sure when you wanted to tell me. But
well, since we're talking about the party. So my kids came, all the little kids. It was awesome this year because all the kids are playing together.
old
at
enough
that
to
age
play,
now.
yeah.
They're just hanging out at the playground. So I said bye to Lowry. I'll see you in a little bit because his house is like 3 blocks away from here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm walking with my wife and the boys, and Drake's like, oh, I gotta pee. And we're like, okay, go pee in the woods. So I'm like trying to teach him to pull his pants down, to not pull it down past his ankles.
Sure.
But he just does it anyways. And so I'm like standing there, and he starts peeing, and Zeke's standing next to him kind of watching him, and he starts arcing his pee like really high up, and I'm like, dude, you gotta watch out. You're gonna... And then as I'm saying that, he like leans out and puts it in his mouth. He peed in his own mouth. It was like a drinking fountain that was shooting up, and he put his mouth to it. I was like, oh my gosh, no, what are you doing? And he's just like, bleh, bleh. I was like, that's disgusting. And he's like, eh. And that's his thing. When he's like in trouble or something, he just does this little sound to us. But so I'm like mad at him, but then I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe that just happened. Like, that's really gross. And so we're walking back, and Cindy and I are just laughing.
Yeah.
We get to the car, and I put him in his car seat. Or no, he was standing by on
Did
my
he have
side.
like pee on him too?
That's where I was gonna
Okay,
get to it. I was like, hey Cindy, check his shirt out when you get over there. She's like, what? I was like, just watch it. And there's this line of his belly up to his freaking neck. Oh, it was. I didn't think he could do it, but
recorded forever in podcast land.
Oh yeah, I'll cut this up and use this as a graduation.
Oh, for sure.
Story.
For sure. I hope you took pictures too.
Yeah, I should have.
Just having them, just like dripping from him.
You say he didn't get it anywhere else, just on his tummy,
Just
and
a
on
line?
his line up his chest.
It's impressive. It's impressive.
My kid peed on himself. Or
No,
he drank his own pee.
That's
That's worse.
in a fountain, like a water fountain way.
I mean, I was impressed that he was getting it.
dehydrated.
I don't think I could get it to arc like that straight.
Oh, I for sure can.
He's
I
just
can't.
like this nice, super huge arc. I've seen him do it before, but then he just kept leaning it back, and I'm like, dude, no, you're gonna get. Oh no, what did you do? All right, so that was my funny story that I wanted to say for this.
So we're on Twitter.
Yeah.
And we do Not Sharing with Adam. We do hashtag Proxy of the Week.
Last week's was Fabled Passage.
Yeah.
It's
It
pretty
looks
sweet.
good. I like
Pretty
it.
Sweet land.
I have shared all of my things with you, so I didn't do one this week.
Oh yeah, this was the not sharing.
This was going to be it, and then I was like, oh, we're double casting.
Other people not shared with Adam and not shared with Lowry.
And they're good people for it.
That was he also said did not sharing with Lowry.
They're good
I
people
believe that
for
was
it.
Bill from Woodbury.
He's a good man.
It was an Oktoberfest. I wanted to taste it.
They're good spiced.
Actually, my wife, she loves the Oktoberfest. That's her beer of choice. So this time of year is awesome for her. Then you can also go on YouTube, check us out there, subscribe, like our page, share it. That's the free way to support our podcast.
And soon enough, we'll be putting up a box of battle box.
You like taunting the batter.
I could have been an umpire about 100 years ago. I would have been perfect for it. But we have battle boxes that should be coming out anytime, right, Adam?
I'm trying to get it off my phone, and it won't come off my phone.
Technical issues. We'll eventually get that, but we're also...
It might come out at the same time as our patron giveaway.
You guys, the patrons, are doing battle boxes as well.
Battle packs.
Battle packs.
Yeah, and that'll be coming out. They might come out pretty close together because we'll be doing that in a couple weeks. So
we're going to open up
month of
packs
October.
for... did we explain this last week?
I think
it's
so.
gonna
We
be
can
done?
say it again. So we're drawing names for each dollar that you donate for the month of October. Your name is put in the drawing,
And then you will be facing another patron, and then whoever wins, both
Value.
will open up a pack, but whoever wins the value out of those packs, they get both of them.
packs. And it's going to be, like you said before, it's not everything out of there. It's the things that are of value, because otherwise we're sending you like $10 package.
For sure. Not sending you the commons and uncommons. It's going to be the rare and any valuable
Right.
uncommons and or foils.
Yeah.
So it'll be a couple.
So yeah, you get lucky if you get your name drawn, but they get super lucky ducky if you win the pack. And then what's our so that's Patron. Go there.
You can email us with any questions, any kind words.
More songs like Adam number 2.
Songs would be a great thing. Yeah. And
show ideas. If you guys have something you want to talk about, we do a lot of times take
for
that
sure.
too.
We'll write down the notes and hopefully we can get to it one day. We plan on doing this for a long time, and I'm sure
we're not stopping.
We'll eventually run out of ideas, and we'll start using. No, actually, when somebody suggests something, we normally do it within the next month.
Yeah,
that's generally what we do.
If it's a good idea, if you gave us something and then we haven't used it, that means it's shitty and we didn't want to use it.
That's probably true, but it could be that we lost it in my notes because I am a unorganized person.
Yeah,
and so sometimes it don't agree so nice, like quickly.
I shouldn't say unorganized. You have a notebook, and I can't read anything out of it. So
except for when I show my songs, and you're like, "Oh, I'm reading your words on the song." You've done that twice.
I didn't do that. What are you talking about?
If for some reason you can't ever read my notes when I send them to you, and then when I got the open song that I forget that's on the table, you're like,
when you write a song out, you write it all beautifully.
That's not true at all. I cannot write beautifully at all.
No, you can't.
Not like you.
I have girl handwriting. I know. I don't know why I've always done that. Okay, so let's actually get into this damn episode. Wait, no. We have a new patron.
New patron.
Robert
Flickinger. We'll call him Mr. Flick. Unless you don't like that.
Yeah, then we can change it.
If anybody doesn't like a nickname, let us know. But
Bill from Woodbury.
I actually had a coach,
Mr. Besh,
in college that was Coach Flickinger.
Leo. Oh, really?
Yeah, and so we called him Coach. Oh, maybe it was Fleckinger. Yeah, we called him Coach Fleck. So, but it's pretty close. No. No. That's a Gophers head coach.
They won today.
Demolished. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right. All right. Let's move into
a spotlight deck.
A spotlight deck.
You're gonna cut that out, aren't you?
Maybe.
You can't anymore because I'm commenting on it.
I can still cut all this out. Just don't comment on it after you start talking about the cards. Touche. Right. I know your tricks now, Adam, and now I'm going to foil your cutting and all that shit.
So what I want to do was take the adventure mechanic and make a deck out of it, just because I thought it was kind of it felt like really neat card advantage when it came to it, and I also wanted to reuse it. So I started out thinking Thrasios Got a Passage would be really sweet, but I'm only going to have 10 adventure cards, so you can't really call that an adventure deck.
Yeah.
And so I kind of threw it out to Twitter. There was a lot of good suggestions, and I started out changing it over to Dromar the Banisher, which was Esper colors, and it felt okay, but still I wasn't drawing enough adventure cards, and I was at about 15 adventure cards at that point.
Which 15... That's kind of my borderline when you have a sub theme, but not the theme in the deck. 15 and up is when you start getting into your theme stuff.
Yeah, and so there was a suggestion to go up to 4 colors, and
but you can do it.
I can't remember who.
No, but I'm just saying you can do it. 4 colors.
Yeah.
I didn't.
So I went up to 4.
I just went who, ooh,
ooh,
who.
Owly. And so I did go green. Adding in green seems important because there's some really good.
Because it's the best color.
Also true.
There's some really good adventure green cards too.
Yeah, and it seems the most plentiful. So now I'm up around 22, 3-ish. There's a couple that were just auto cut, but now it feels like I'm getting more adventure cards. And I ended up settling on the paired commanders of Ravos, the Soul Tender, which is similar-ish to Thrasios, because what you're able to do is any of your adventure creatures, when they die at your upkeep, you can bring a creature back into your hand, which allows you to do the sorcery part of it and then recast it. So you're getting that extra advantage with it. And it also gives your adventure creatures a pump of +1/+1, because a lot of them are kind of weak.
Yeah.
And so that it kind of does a dual function there, which is really nice. And then going from Jomar, you got the blue, which was really nice, and I had already bought Brazen Borrower, which was like $10-13.
Which one's Brazen Borrower?
That's the bounce a creature for the adventure, and then a 3/1 flyer that can't block non-flyers.
Oh yeah,
a mythic. And so I was like, I bought that for this deck.
Yeah.
I'm going to use blue.
I'm going to use it.
Yeah, exactly. And so I ended up going with Thrasios, Triton Hero. And that's just for advantage and like late game.
Kind of what I talked about last week with when we were talking about whatchamacallit, dude.
It's a candy bar. I don't know what you're talking about.
The one dude. Kenrith. That's what I was saying.
Oh, sure. Late game, you can just draw a ton of cards.
Boom,
yeah. And so that kind of gets you in that ability. And so I still thought that recursion was a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so I still kept a scarce amount of that. It's not fully that, but...
So you have Thrasios, God of Passage.
Yeah, so
Athreos.
I think it's still a really good idea. Like, whenever one of your adventure creatures die...
Then you can have somebody pay 3 life. If they do, then it goes in your graveyard. If they don't, it goes back into your hand.
Exactly.
All right, then you have Ameria Shepherd, which is 5 and 2 white angel. Flying has landfall. And what is the landfall part?
And so landfall is it brings a creature, or any permanent really, non-land, from the graveyard into your hand. And if it's the plains, it goes into play. And so that's kind of the thing is like recursion or like creature recursion. Blah, blah, blah. I'm messing up. I'm also red-faced apparently with this beer. But normally you want recursion that allows to go from graveyard into play.
Like we talked about last week with Kenrith.
That's really nice. But this is where I'm wanting to replay the adventure part of it and then put the creature in. Yeah. So it has that. That's what I wanted to do, and so that makes it really nice.
Yeah, it makes sense. So sword, light, and shadow. That's which is damage. Then you get to actually bring a creature back to your hand. And then what's that last one? Yeah. Virtue's Maneuver.
Yeah, and so that one's from Battle Bond. All your enemies have to sacrifice a creature, and then all of your friends can bring a creature from the graveyard into your hand.
Yeah, for 1 black and 2, that's pretty good. And then Phyrexian Reclamation, you love
one of
that
my
card.
favorite enchantments. And the thing about this is just having that incremental recursion as well. And you want it to be like Reanimate's a really good sorcery card, but it happens once and goes into play. So it doesn't really work in this deck. Why would I want to bring like a 2/3 from my graveyard into play that really isn't that powerful? I want to be able to redo that recursion. And then I really like Dromar for the bouncing effect of bringing stuff back, and so I have a little package there about returning things from play into hand.
I've never seen this card. Umbilicus?
Yeah.
For an artifact during each player's upkeep, that player pays 2 life or returns a permanent he or she controls their hand.
And the next card is the same effect.
Blood Clock?
Yep, same thing. They're
I said Blood Clot, I think is how I said it.
I believe you.
Blood Clock?
And so the nice thing is like you're able to, every upkeep, they either return a creature to their hand or pay 2 life. So it's helping you drain or making them replay their creatures. And it gives you a nice tempo because you kind of want to be replaying your creatures and stuff like that.
Then you have Words of Wind, which this is pretty interesting. You can tap 1 the next time you draw a card. Each player returns a permanent he or she controls to their owner's hand instead. So you're getting the benefit of returning your own things, but then bouncing everybody else's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got Thing in the Ice.
And so you are casting instants and sorceries as the adventurer, so you'll be able to continually tick down the ice counters.
And then when he flips over,
you're returning all those creatures back to your hand again.
And everybody else's.
And having a 7/8 that you can attack with right away.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
So I'm excited about that. Some really kind of like cool cards, I guess. We'll go
question mark.
One thing that you do, since you're bouncing creatures, ETB creatures or creatures that you sacrifice for an ability, they're both pretty decent in this deck.
So you have Night of Autumn, which has 3. You get to choose one. When it comes in, put 2 1/1 counters on a Night of Autumn, or destroy target artifact or enchantment, or gain 4 life. Then you have Sakura Tribe Elder, which we all know what that does.
Sacrifice, put a basic land into play. So Sakura Tribuilder is really awesome with a Myria Shepherd as well. And so if a Myria Shepherd's in play, that's a landfall. Bring it. With Sakura Tribuilder, you sacrifice it, goes in your graveyard, and I believe you go get a Plains and get the Tribuilder back into play that way, and then sacrifice it again, and you can get all of your basic Plains from your deck into play, and then at the end you just go get another basic and it goes back to your hand. So it seems really powerful with those two cards going. And so good ETB creatures that are nice and cheap with a utility can be really good in this deck since it just kind of goes along the way. I did fit Feyburrow Elder in here.
Nice. Feyburrow. I love this card. So it's the guy that taps for... He gets a 1/1 counter for each color among permanents you control. He's green, white, and one color, so you're playing 3 colors in this. 4 colors, sorry. So you can be up to a 4/4 with this, and then you can tap it and
get you 4 mana.
Each color among permanents you control, add 1 color of that color.
Yeah,
so.
It seems. I think I really like this card for 4 and 5 color decks, and probably 3 color decks as well.
Foreshadowing that card's probably going to be discussed a little bit later.
And then a couple of. One thing, what's that top card?
Unfulfilled Desires. This is from Mirage.
And this is reserved list here, but it's black-blue, colorless, pay 1 life, pay 1 mana, pay 1 life. And then you get to draw a card and discard a card from your hand. This card is relatively cheap. I haven't looked it up in a while because I spec'd on this like a year or two ago.
You might as well check it up now while you're talking.
Okay, I'll let you look
Keep
that
talking.
up. But the card was bonkers. As long as you're not running out of cards in your hand, you are filtering with any of your extra mana that you possibly have. I was able to do it 2-3 cards a turn. It's $2.19 on Goldfish. You can probably find it for
under $2 probably.
The card is
amazeballs.
Really, really good. Like,
it doesn't seem like it would be, but then when you actually think about it, like you're saying, you pay 1 life, you draw a card, and I drew another land. Late game, you're getting rid of your land.
Yeah, as long as you're not running out of cards. So this card's really bad if you only have 1 or 2 cards in your hand. But if you're consistently having 4 in, especially in this deck, when I'm returning things to my hand,
you might not need the adventure card anymore. Maybe it isn't of use to you anymore. That certain thing, because not all the adventures are great.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. They're not amazing.
Plus, you have ways of bringing back. You have some things where you're bringing back from your graveyard, your recursion, and stuff like that. So discarding it, you may be able to still bring it back from that.
Very good point. And the other thing is I think this fits into blue-black reanimate decks because that puts big creatures into your graveyard where you want it and keeping normal reanimation. Like, when I was playing this is how I felt, just as good as Rhystic Study.
Really?
That's a $20 card.
You thought that was just as good as
Rhystic? I thought this Unfulfilled Desires was just as good as Rhystic Study.
I guess you're able to do it on your will instead of asking, are you going to pay 2?
Yeah, it just felt, and just being able to do it with your extra mana, it felt, again, not trying to get it pumped up, but I would go out and get a playset if I was you. Smith Specs of the week. So I thought this at $2 is crazy, crazy powerful.
Yeah, definitely. Then you have Trail of Evidence, which whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, investigate. That means put a clue token into play.
Yeah.
Ulvenwald Mysteries, which is whenever a non-token creature dies, investigate. Again, whenever you sacrifice a clue, put a 1/1 human soldier creature token.
So it gives you a little bit of token, like that part, but you kind of know that your creatures are going to die, and so getting those clue tokens to draw more cards. And also, I'll get to one of the adventure cards that I felt like was being underutilized, and this helps. Okay,
and then Sylvan Reclamation.
This is important because it is enchantment and artifact exiling ability, but also with you being 4 cards, it has basic land cycling on it, which can be really
it can help land fix all your stuff then.
And it's colorless, so if you're getting stuck on 2 or 1 different color, you're able to go and mana fix, and I think that's really important to have in this deck. When
you got 4 colors, you got to make sure that you set your mana up right.
Yeah, and so some type of colorless fixing is kind of important in here.
All right, and then the next package, what are we looking at?
Just the adventure bonuses from Throne of Eldraine. I loved
this, dude, when I was playing the pre-release. The Edgewall Innkeeper, so it's whenever you cast a creature spell that has an adventure card, or adventure draw card.
Yeah.
So you don't have to cast the adventure first and then cast the creature.
It's a huge reason why I moved into green.
Yeah. Discard.
Yeah, just gives you another...
Then Lucky Clover... Whenever you cast an adventure, instant, or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets. So you get to double up on your adventure stuff.
And this makes... Because one thing about the adventures is like maybe a third to half of them are just like combat tricks that are like, they're okay. And sometimes like that's just kind of nice to get through. But if you're able to double them, then you're like, ooh, that's kind of powerful. And so we'll start getting into the adventures here.
It's an adventure! And these are all the adventures.
Not all of them, but now running about 22.
The good ones.
The two that I haven't gotten yet, I ordered them, but Brazen Borrower will be in there, and that's the blue colorless bounce non-land permanent, I believe.
Yeah,
could be a creature, but then it's a 3/1 flyer for 3 that can't block non-flyers.
Murderous Rider. This is a foil. The special art one, Lowry.
Yeah, foil showcase is good. It was gorgeous.
The pack ruining stuff.
You are ruining stuff. But Murderous Rider is the best adventure card out there.
Then you got Giant Killer, which is basically it's destroying creatures, and then you can tap creatures down, which is really nice.
And it's cheap.
Fulmire Knight, which is draw a card, so it replaces itself in a way.
Yeah, which one is that?
It's adventure is an instant. You draw a card and lose a life.
Oh yeah, that's just kind of nice. It's overpaying to draw.
Death touch.
Yeah, so you're ready to block with it. It'll die. You can bring it back.
Fairy Guide Mother
gives +2/+1 in flying on the adventure, or it's a 1/1 flyer. But the +2/+1, that's one of them I was talking about with Lucky Clover, giving 2 of your creatures +2/+1 in flying
that helps
is more powerful.
Beanstalk Giant, I like this one.
This card's really quite good.
I know, this one I've liked.
I kind of told you to cut that one last time.
It was
when we were talking adventure.
It was our top 10 commanders or commander cards, and this was one that was on my list that we didn't put in there. But it's 1 green and 2 colors. Search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped. A lot of times when you have that ability, it goes into your hand. This is at least going into your hand. And this is really nice in a 4-color deck. Because it's any basic, it's not just a forest, so you get to go search for any basic and put it into play tapped. And then
it's not into play tapped. That's what I
thought. Or untapped, I meant.
Yeah. So it's just onto the battlefield. So that's what makes it really, really good.
Yeah. I guess that's what I meant. Yeah, a lot of times cards will come into your hand, and if they don't come into your hand, they go into play. They're normally coming to play tapped.
And this one doesn't come into play tapped, and that is pretty good.
And then if you're wanting to make the giant, he's as strong as how many lands you control for 7.
Yeah, and there's a bit of ramp in here, and so you can hit turn 7 or 7 lands pretty easy, and having a 7/7 is not a bad thing in this deck.
Yeah,
at least.
Then you have Animating Fairy, which can turn one of your artifacts into a 4/4.
That's exactly what I was talking about with Ulvenwald Mysteries and the other one, the blue one.
Oh, so you can...
and so it creates... I wasn't having a lot of artifacts, but I feel like having that 3 mana and creating a 4/4 pretty decent. And if I can throw them on clues, that feels really good.
You have a counter spell, you fucker.
I only have so many adventure cards.
The Hypnotic Sprite is in here. That's the counter spell.
Yeah, that one's solid.
Lovestruck Beast, which is creating some tokens, and then you get him unless you have a...
I mean, that's a pretty big beater if you can get that turn 3. But also, it's one of the bigger creatures in this deck. So
then as a 4-color, this actually helps the Rosethorn Acolyte, which is you can tap 1 to give you any color. So... that can help you. Otherwise, it taps for any color. So you have some mana fix in there as well.
And actually, that's pretty good. Like I feel like it's bad, but with the Lucky Clover, that gives you 2 mana on the adventure, and also being this being a 4-color deck, just paying a green to get some other type of fixing is not a bad thing.
Yeah, for sure. Then the other 2 I would think that are relevant in this is not saying the other ones aren't, but you're trying to get
there are some that aren't.
But these The Order of Midnight, you return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, so there you get to use your adventures again.
Yeah.
And then the other one I would think is pretty good is the Shepherd of the Flock. You can return target permanent you control to its owner's hand, so there again you get to cast your...
Yeah, you're able to block and then return that card, that adventure card, back to your hand or whatever utility, like value creature that you're getting. So both of those actually fit right on par with what I'm doing here. The card or the deck actually feels really nice. And
it seems like, at least when I was playing the pre-release, this is completely different.
Yeah.
I was playing an adventure deck. I had a lot of cards in my hand. Do you have like things that make it so... Did you ever have a problem with having too many cards where you had to discard? Or do you have...
No. It's sometimes I had a lot of cards in the on an adventure exile part. But really it felt really good. The only problem that I would think I would say that I kind of have is I don't have enough. I would probably prefer to be more like recursion or bouncing, one or the other, and I feel like I'm an even split right now.
Just because of what you have, or you just you wanted to kind of go 50-50?
So yeah, it just kind of like the cards that I was really liking from when I started with Thrasios, and then when I went into Dromar with bouncing things, and so like it kind of was like, oh, I really like these cards still, and they kept in, and then they kept over again. But like right now, it feels like I have a ton of creatures. It's hard to know when you have creatures that would die when you're just goldfishing a deck. And so it's like I have this recursion piece, but I don't know if I'm going to be using it right now or not. You don't know how aggressive people are going to be towards you on an adventure deck. I don't know how scary that is. And so it might just happen because I'm Lowry and they'll kill my stuff.
That's the other part of it.
It's a 2/2, kill it.
Kill Lowry.
God damn it. It's a 2/3, I paid 4/4. This is ridiculous. Why are you coming after? But, so
Lowry's breathing, kill him.
So it's a little hard to tell when that would, when things would trigger and when I would need to do things. That's the hard part to know. And so it feels, and I don't have like sack outlets to make it consistent. But the bouncing feels good. But it'd be bad if people are killing my stuff.
Then So that's why you kind of went 50-50.
Yeah, it'll need some playtesting to see how people treat it and stuff like that.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I do really enjoy it.
Have you played it against anybody, or has it just been goldfishing it?
No, just deck baiting. As a masturbation joke.
Deck bait all over your face.
That's aggressive.
All right, let's move into our Commander breakdown. That was my breakdown. I don't know. How do you do a breakdown sound?
Was that like a newscasting thing? Like moving over and like that's...
I was thinking more of a breakdown, Get down, get down. Diddle-doo, get down.
And see, this is why you want other versions and opinions from yourself, because that is not what I would do. And that's exactly how this...
What would you
maybe
do?
That's what we should do. We should both do our own music to show that we're going to have differing opinions on these commanders and how we would build it.
How would you do the breakdown?
I mean, everything else we do is nerdy. So like...
Let me hear it.
I don't know. I'm not going to say it.
Well, come on now.
We could do it like disco. Breakdown, breakdown, break. Is that what you were just doing?
That's exactly
I wasn't paying attention.
But I wasn't paying. I literally just did that. I said, get down, get down, get down. And then you just said, break down, break down. A lot worse, but exactly what I was doing. You were just thinking about the next thing that you were going to say. I didn't think we were really
going to be that like vicious in our...
All right, so we're arguing about the song and what our commander breakdown.
Cut all that, right? Yeah, cut all of it.
All right, so we went through the generals from basically Brawl, and then we added in Mr. Red Guy.
Torbrand.
Yeah, that guy.
And so we were just kind of picking out some of the ones that would excite us if we were going to build more decks. And at this point, we're not.
There's a couple of them though that I kind of want to build it because of just looking at it and coming up with the idea. I was like, this would be kind of fun to go this angle, and we'll kind of get to that here. Why don't we just start off with the most exciting one, which is Alayla.
Chulane.
No, I think Alayla. I think Alayla's...
Chulane's bonkers. But
I know,
we can start out with
really
Alayla.
powerful, but Alayla, artful... provocator. What the hell is it?
Provocateur. Racketeers.
As I read, I didn't even realize. Never mind.
That's
I'm not
all
going to explain it. All right. So when I first see it, I feel like the easy way to build this deck was to go artifacts.
Well, I think there's plenty of...
Not the way I win, but that's the way I think it would be
that
easy.
was the easiest thing. I mean, colorless makes it super easy.
Right.
Artifact has a ton of support throughout the years.
And your 3-color and artifacts is colorless, so you're just...
And there's already a bunch of Esper colored artifact decks that you could take ideas from.
So I think that would be the way to go. That's not the way I kind of looked at it. When I looked at it, I was like, all right, what would be the way I'd want to build? I'd probably want to go the enchantment way of building this deck. And actually, when I was done kind of pulling some cards, it looks like enchantments was actually the more popular one that people chose.
You think so? Like just the pillow fort idea where you were looking at it?
So I guess what my thought with this deck was more, I would build it as like plain artifacts that made it so people didn't attack me, like propaganda, ghostly prison,
Sphere of Safety.
Yeah. At the same time, you're getting a
Orification.
Which one?
Nah.
Or play reconnaissance.
You could do that too. That's not a bad thing.
Put in on a card that you didn't put in your face.
Let's just do our top 5 enchantments. Check that out from last week. Plug.
Yeah, so actually that's the stuff I put on the top was play Smothering Tithe, Ristic Study, you can play Attrition, or of Silence. All these cards that you just play enchantments and you're going to get a benefit from it. You're going to get a 1/1,
a 2/1 essentially, because it gives flyers +1/+0,
and then you draw a card.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to stay cheap, low to the ground. You don't want to be playing, 6-7 mana artifact or enchantments or artifacts. So you just want it I think you want to be at 3-ish for your converted mana cost and just rip through your deck, make a ton of fairies, and go to town on it. And so one of the things that
I don't know why I did the draw card thing.
It's not a thing?
No, it's Chulane. I'm getting those
two.
Chulane
is a...
Okay.
So you lied to me.
I'm going to take all that part out. You don't draw a card. I had to pull it up. I was like, no, I think I'm getting Chulane and this fairy mixed up. But I guess what my thought was that you're playing these...
But you're getting
artifact,
a guy.
You're playing something. You're getting a guy at the same time hindering your opponents from doing anything to you.
Yeah. And they're I think another place to look for if you're on EDH Rec, I think go and look at like a Zur the Enchanter deck, because that would also give you a lot of pieces on locking down the board, giving you some presence. And so if you're going the enchantment route, and if you're going the artifact route, there is, and instantly blanking on it now that I regretfully bring it up. There's a Shards of Alara. It's a Sphinx. When it comes into play, bring an artifact from the graveyard into play. That's a really powerful artifact, Esper colors. But
there's a bunch of artifact creatures that you can play that you'd get. What's the freaking bird? Why am I blanking on his name? That the snake now is kind of taking its place. 1/1 Death Touch flying when it comes into play.
Oh, Baleful Strix?
Yeah, Baleful.
Yeah.
Baleful Strix, you're getting a 1/1, and it's a 1/1, and you're drawing a card. That seems solid. It's a 2/1. Both of them would be 2/1s. One with Death Touch. And
one thing there, too, is I think this lends itself to Fairy Tribal, Flying Tribal. And when I saw that card, I had, for M20, I built Kikar. Or Kaikar, and we didn't do a spotlight on it, but I was like, man, that is the card that I want to be playing instead of Kaikar.
Yeah.
Even though they would be different decks, but Kaikar, I went Spirit and Enchantments, and this I'd be going Fairies and Enchantments. That's how I would end up going too. So they'd be different cards. There's red or black instead of red, but they'd be very similar, so that's one reason why I wouldn't build it.
Well, the other part I was thinking is you could use the enchantment creatures with the gods, because then you're also getting your creature and a creature, getting
or
all
the god, and a 1/1 flyer.
Exactly. So you're getting multiple benefits from it.
And that is a big difference between Kaikar and Alila here. Is Alila is whenever you're playing the artifact or enchantment, where Kaikar is whenever you're playing a non-creature spell. And so, like, in Kaikar, you're not playing a god because that's a creature and an enchantment when you're casting it either way. So it wouldn't trigger Kaikar. But here, it's that enchantment on the stack, so that would trigger, which gives you that little bit more of focus. Kind of like what we were talking about last week, that focus within a commander.
Yeah.
Kaikar gives you a little bit more flexibility, and this gives you a little bit more focus.
One other thing I kind of wrote on my notes.
Do you have any cards? Oh, you did mention your cards. I'll mention my cards after.
Well, no. Some things I was going to say was, like, if I was going the enchantment route, you use all enchantment removal stuff, like your Oblivion Ring and Castaway, all the stuff that when it comes in, it's an enchantment, so you're getting an advantage with it. You're removing something, getting a 1/1 and replacing it. Some of the other things,
like it turns into a 2-for-1. You're getting rid of one of their things and you're
gaining something with it.
Yeah.
One thing that you have used, I think, not Mesa Enchantress, was it Divine Visitation? Is that the 4/4s? No. It is
Sigil of the Empty Throne.
Oh, is it Sigil?
Whenever you play an enchantment, create a 4/4 angel.
No, I was thinking of the one whenever you play a token, instead of it being the token, it's a 4/4 angel. What's that one?
Oh, Jesus. That was just last year from Ravnica.
It's not... Isn't it Divine Visitation?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
it's Divine
that's what
Visitation.
I thought it was. Okay, so yeah, Divine Visitation was a card I was thinking of.
Seems sweet.
Or
that seems real good. Yeah.
From Modern Horizons, Hall of Heliod's, whatever it's called, the card that I really like a lot, where it's the putting an enchantment from your graveyard on top of your library.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Heliod's Generosity.
There we go.
All of Heliod's Generosity.
So those are some of the... There's so many cool... I mean, I think the reason why I like this is because... What colors was... This is the color of... What's his name? One of the first commanders that everybody builds. You gain 2 life every turn.
Oh, Laurel.
Yeah. Isn't that the same colors?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is... I remember how we built my Laurel deck. We were at Lutzen. We were there early. We were guys weekend.
Yeah.
It was just me and Lowry there. We're like, all right, let's build a Laurel so that anybody can play this deck.
We were really drunk at that point, too. It was like 2 a.m.
But we made it was a really fun...
Yeah, it was.
Good Aloro deck, and it was all enchantments, and I think that's why maybe this triggered more in my head. I was like, I already have this fucking build.
Just switch it over to Alila. Yeah, and some cards that I was thinking that I'd be pretty excited for was like Sapara from M20. You can pay a white, tap 4 flying creatures you control, and play it for a 7/7 flying lifelink on all your other flyers getting indestructible. That seems really good in this, and I had that in my Kaikar deck. But also Flickering Ward, which is an aura for white, and then it gives a creature protection from a color that you name. Then you can pay a white and return that back to your hand.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So you're continually making 2 ones, 2 ones, 2 ones.
Yeah, just keep on bringing it back and forth. It's almost like card advantage, and then you can have protection from red or whatever somebody's targeting with, and that allows you to just kind of survive through that. And then another one... a couple of other... Coastal Piracy. You draw a card whenever you have a creature deal damage, combat damage to an opponent. That's going to fill up your hand pretty quick with your 2/1 flyers. And then Idol of Oblivion, which is from the new Commander set. And it's whenever you can tap it to draw a card only when a token comes into play. And so you play it, you've made a token, tap it, draw a card. You're always making tokens with this deck pretty much. And so it should be... and it's cheap. It's an artifact, 2 colorless. It's going to trigger it. It seems really good in this deck.
This seems almost like the most powerful. I agree with you. Tulane's probably the most.
I think Alila is more our style.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So is that it for Alila?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so Tulane, Teller of Tales.
Is that what... It should be Lowry, Teller of Tales.
Lord time with Larry.
Which is not something we'll anymore. Do. Yeah.
Wah, wah. We'll get back to it.
It's just a little story tease.
Yeah. Okay, so first look at this one, this is what my thoughts were, I build a deck with creatures that have ETBs, use ones that search for land, because then you're able to actually, if you cast it, you're going to search for the land, then you're able to play the land, and you're drawing a card, you're getting all that benefit of casting things. So it wouldn't be huge.
You're always hitting the land, you're always drawing a card. And,
you're going through your deck, you're getting it filtered out, getting your lands out, returning the creature back to your hand, do it all over again, keep searching through until you get the cards you want. The way you win is the easy way: create a behemoth, destroy everybody, and that's how you win.
Is this something that you would be interested in going like how I went Nikia, where I went all creatures and only land? This is something where you could just go all creatures, land, and Tulane, and then you just have, like, you're always either drawing a creature or a land that you can play, and always have the trigger off of Tulane.
That would be
I think that could be a nice
build to it. Interesting little twist theme to it.
And it does seem like people like Tulane, from what I've seen, everybody's just going, this card's bonkers. This, I think, is what people wanted Joria, Captain of the Weatherlight, to be. But this just seemed like people are like, from what I've read, they're like, I won turn 3, 4, 5. And I'm just like, holy shit. And they're playing Food Chain and some of the like play from exile creatures, and they're just tutoring, and like, this card is bonkers. They can draw themselves out with Lab Maniac or the new Jace.
I will say, the last time I did a theme deck where I only was like, I'm only going to do creatures that ETB, was the Boar God, the red one, and that fucking sucked.
Yeah, but you went heavy on that. You didn't. That wasn't. No. But you also kind of did that with Yarok as well.
Yeah, I did handcuff. I actually think Yarok's really good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people agree with you on that. I don't know about your deck, but Yarok.
Oh, what a dick. I think it was really good. I want to see it in a 4-person game. But
I guess the route that I was thinking that would be really cool is the Mana Denial off of Tulane. So there are cards like Overabundance, Mana Breach, and it's like whenever somebody has a creature come into play or they play a spell, Storm Cauldron is another one way back when. But what they're doing is returning people's lands to their hand whenever they're playing a spell or having a creature come into play. And for you, even though it comes back to your hand, Tulane allows you to put a land into play for free, essentially.
So you're not getting hurt by the land going back.
So it's not essentially you're getting ahead because of just the pure ability.
You're just not getting behind.
Yeah, you're not getting behind. And whereas this, and you could do some other stack stuff, and like Propaganda becomes really, really good, like because they might not have the land.
Yep.
Like
you can use both those in this too, Propaganda and Ghostly, because you have the colors with it.
And so that seems like a really dickheadish thing. I think there's probably not enough support for that, but green does have some land destruction in it. So you might piss off a lot of people, but like Plow Under puts 2 lands on top of a library. You got Molvenwald Acid that destroys a land, puts a forest into play for you. Like there's some of that route as well. So I think you would need some of the support along with Overburden, Mana Breach, and stuff like that. So
that seems like it could be fun to build that way.
Mana Vortex is another one. That's from the dark. That might even be a reserve list, but that's like everybody's like destroying their own lands and shit like that. So it could be.
You like pissing people off.
It's kind of a thing.
When I was looking into this a little bit more, I was like, that was the easy way to build, not your way. Laurie, the way you just described was really easy. No,
thanks. I like to be unoriginal.
The ETBs. But then I was thinking, it popped in my head. I was like, what is that dude that you can have as many as you want? You could turn this into a mill deck. I couldn't think of it, so I like actually pulled up EDH Rec to be like, all right, what is the name of that? Because I figured somebody might have thought of that as because I was thinking if you're drawing that many cards, you can hurt people when you're drawing cards. There's a lot of cards that deal with that. What's the
persistent petitioners? Parishioners?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's the card.
Oh, is that what you're asking?
So it's actually the persistent petitioners. There's a deck build. This is one. It's not the top one for this build, but it was in there as a list. I was like, holy shit! So somebody's actually building this. But how I thought of it is like you can put as many of those as in your deck as you want. Yeah. There are 2. It's 1 blue and 1 colorless. You play that out. You draw a card. you're able to mill people with those, and you just have multiples of those in your deck. You can pop them back in your hand and keep doing it. But then you just start playing like Psychic Corrosion, the new one, Folio of Fancies, Sphinx's Tutelage, Mind Crank, Jace's Wielder of Mysteries, Memory Erosion, Fraying Sanity, Fleet Swallower, Windfall.
Do they have the one? Oh, shit, it's a 6-mana blue enchantment that from Lorwyn, whenever they play a spell, draw 7 cards.
I didn't put that in there, but that could be something.
That could be something. Yeah, that would help mill. Or one thing that I like to pair with mill is if you have white is like the rule of law stuff where it's only having people allowed to play 1 spell per turn. So instead of trying to get stuff out, they're just kind of screwed. They're able to do one thing and then they're milled. Like it slows down the game pretty well, and then that allows you to mill more effectively. It gives you more time. And with this, that allows you to, because you have white with it. And there's probably 4 or 5 cards that allow have that effect. Yeah, there's like a curse that does it from might be Shadows of Innistrad. There's the enchantment, then there's the Eidolon from Theros block. So 1/4 can only play, and then there's a Shards of Alara one where you can only play 1 non-artifact spell. So like
that would be
those together
to it.
could
because then you
slow you down,
make it really so they can't play anything from their hand, and then mill them out. So the hard part would be I think this would be heavy blue
for sure. Yeah.
But you need this guy out to be able to draw your cards and everything. So you'd have to play mainly blue land, but a lot of dual blue. Like everything you'd have a dual blue, so it'd be your every single one of those.
Because when we were talking about this before, when you said persistent parishioners, I was like, man, pay 1 blue, put a persistent into play, draw a card, put a land into play, and you probably have another persistent, and you're just able to
the persistent is 1 blue, 1 colorless, though.
Oh, is it a blue and a colorless?
I'm almost positive.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, it's 1 blue, 1 colorless.
I mean, okay, that's maybe not as good as I was thinking, but that's still
they have
pretty solid
tap ability where it's not tapping, so you can do it in the turn they come in. Is
it 5 of them?
I believe it's 4. Why don't we just pull persistent?
Yeah, since I keep on fucking it up.
Persist.
So I think the mill route is really interesting and kind of cool, and it keeps you there.
So this is one that I was like, I actually kind of want to build it. So it is tap 1, target player puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. Tap 4 untapped, you control. Target player puts the top 12 cards from the top. So I was just like, you just play all. So you play all the enchantments and other creatures or planeswalkers.
Paradox Engine, why?
Yeah, right.
No,
they had one thing I did see that would work with it was Seedborn Muse.
For sure. And Intruder Alarm would be bonkers in here too, actually.
Sure.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Intruder Alarms is really good. I love that card, by the way. Yeah. Why wasn't that on my top 5?
Lowry's top 5 continues to 10
I regret
to 20.
This. But yeah, that seems pretty cool. I like that route a lot.
Yeah, so this was one where I was like, I actually have Tulane from one of the Brawl decks that we did get. I'm tempted to actually build this. Funny thing is, when we opened, because I opened all the Mythic Edition, or I got all those and everything, I had a ton of those. I sold them all because I was like, I'm not going to build a deck with a bunch of these. Now I'm like, shit, I'm going to build a deck with one of these. Son of a bitch!
Regret.
All right, was there anything else for Tulane?
I think another little thing is like you can maybe look at it like I built Oketra, or like having creatures that when they come into play you can bounce something back to your hand as well. So like White Mane Lion is a colorless white flash 2/2 and comes into play, return target creature back to your hand. And so you play that, draw a card, you're able to put a land into play, put White Mane Lion back in your hand. And again, similar to the flickering ward effect of just being able to replay cards for the value of your commander.
The one thing I would say is I like that, but Tulane already has that built in.
Yeah, but that's slow. That's 3 and tapping
and you
it.
only do it once.
But yeah, it does allow you to, like, if you're running out of cards, to be able to play that. I think that's the other thing is like that might not be as good because you might just always be drawing cards and never really running out. So White Mane Lion is a redundancy.
I think it's so good. I don't mean to
need.
like say it's not good, but I think he has a built-in ability. So I was like, Solemn Simulacrum is going to be awesome in this because you play him,
Anything with an ETB, that is
you go
nuts.
get the land, and then you do it again, and you just bring it back to your hand, and then like it's just
This is a commander that can just turn into good stuff deck and just win off the back of just great value, like Acidic Slime, like 5 mana 2/2 Death Touch comes into play, destroy target non-creature permanent, draw a card, put a land into play if you have it. Like that's a lot for 5 mana, and then you're talking Wood Elves, like. It just ETB value seems insane with this.
Here's my we didn't talk about this beforehand. Do you think this is the next Atraxa? I mean, what I mean by that is Atraxa's just amazing. You can put it in all these any counters decks, that because you're proliferating, you do all that stuff. This is just like it makes any deck really good. Like there's so many things you can do with this, and getting that value of you cast a creature, you draw a card, that's the very least. Then you play a land. Like you're not only getting the card advantage, you're playing a land, so you're potentially getting ahead with mana. Really and then you're able to just bounce that back to your hand and redo it all over and over and over again. And he's not ridiculously expensive. It's 5. Atraxa was 4, not trying to compare mana cost, but is this the next... And it is a foil. Like we got it, or you get it as a foil when you buy a Brawl deck. Is this a year from now hitting the $20 range instead of being a $10 card? I think this is the breakout of the 4. This is the best one.
I think it's also the one that people are most excited about. Like Atraxa is a really high ceiling to compare it to, because you could have Atraxa in a deck that is jank,
doesn't have anything to deal with
still
counters.
Really good.
You're just gaining the
like
life.
It's a 4 mana 4/4 flying vigilance, death touch, lifelink. Like those stats alone make the card
really
ridiculous. Good. This at least needs other cards to be good. Atraxa
what are you talking
is
about?
just
2/4 vigilance has part of Atraxa.
A small part. Yeah. So I think this is really good, and I agree with you. I think this is the breakout.
But have we had a commander product commander that has... I feel like this is that has done as well as Atraxa in years. Like, I guess Edgar is done well. I don't think his price is... What is his price at? I don't
Edgar's 10 plus right
now. I don't know. I kind of feel like this could be a... Look down the road 2-3 years from now, and it's a $20...
Sure.
Commander.
Yeah, I can see that, especially with the scarcity with the Brawl decks.
They are doing another printing. That's what
I've heard that as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I think in November they're supposed to get more of them out, is what...
Oh, you're here in November?
Isn't that what... I thought that's what it was what the new...
So I talked to the card store owner that I talked with 2 or 3 weeks ago when I talked with him about it. He was like, they might have one, but it's not on the docket. And we've bought everything for November, so it might be December, January.
Oh,
that's what he was saying.
Okay, I thought I heard somewhere November, but maybe
they might toss it on there and force stores to buy, as quick as they could.
It would make sense for December because try to get it in for Christmas stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And so I didn't talk about it recently with them.
So yeah, I don't know. Tulane just seems...
Where are we at?
An hour.
Oh, shit.
I told you, this is going to be a long episode. Okay, so let's move into the next one, Corvold. I guess the thought of this one was I built a Mazarek deck. This is my Mazarek deck, basically. It's actually a mix of the two. Mazarek and Gitrog. You can do a lot of things with this.
Yeah, this one, I think, like green-black, a little bit what we were talking about last week, or with our color identities with green-black, and really, like, you want to sacrifice things in green-black X or just green-black, and so there's a lot of support for Corvold.
Yeah, this is... You need Mazarek in there.
Yeah, you were like, Mazarek's fantastic in here.
It has to go in there.
Like, we both had the list of things. It was like...
Well, yeah. What was some of the... Well, I put it as you should have free sacks that would be the most beneficial. So you're looking at Scion and what are they? The Eldrazi.
Eldrazi spawn and
Spawn tokens, treasure tokens, so that
Goblin Bombardment, which is an imposter on my top 5 enchantment list at this point.
An imposter. But you fill your board up with all these, because it's almost like a Voltron, because the difference with Mazarek, when you anybody sacrifice anything, all your creatures got 1/1 counters. This is whenever you sacrifice a permanent, you put a 1/1 counter on them and you draw a card. So you're getting an advantage with the drawing a card.
The top card, we both were like, oh man, this is so good. The Dockside Extortionist.
Oh, yeah.
From the Commander set, Savine.
So it's when it comes in, it's the red goblin, and you get as many treasure tokens for as many artifacts or enchantments that all your opponents control.
Holy shit.
Not just one opponent, it's all your opponents.
Holy shit.
So
Which also reads, in a Corvold deck, draw a card and put a 1/1 counter on Corvold for each enchantment and artifact your opponents.
Exactly.
Holy moly.
And have all that mana open because you just sacrificed it so you can cast whatever you just drew.
Which hopefully also sacrifices things. Corvold wins at that point. Exactly. Like, holy crap.
So I guess how I would probably build this is more of the same thing I had as Mazarek, but I would add in the treasure tokens, so you'd have the Dockside, Pitiless Plunderer, Revel in Riches would be really good here.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, because you could win the game just with Revel in Riches, but if you don't win that way, you can just draw cards instead. Sacrifice those tokens and draw the cards.
Yeah, and I think having, with Corvold, having enough stuff to just sacrifice easy and not feel bad about is really important. And that's the same thing with like the Victus Asmati deck that I built last year. It's like, man, it really sucks to sacrifice the land, so I need something that's creating more, like at that point it was clue tokens. Which is not a bad thing here either. Like if you have clue tokens or even food tokens is a good way here.
But yes, I did have food tokens.
Yeah,
on here
it's so
I
just
still gotta
having those incidental artifact tokens in play that you can just be happy that you're sacrificing and not having a real problem with them going away, but they're nice value if you don't have Corvold or something.
I would say go food if you have no other options.
No, I think if you want to make I was actually going to make, if I got real aggressive, like a food Corvold deck. I didn't get Corvold in the Brawl deck, so I'm not going to fucking do it.
I got him. You want him? No, I'm just kidding. No, you can't have
You wanted them.
So
I think...
I mean, Tireless Tracker would be amazing in this.
For sure.
It fits your green.
Yeah. Tireless Tracker is amazing
card in
general.
general.
It's so good.
But the other part of it is, you get the benefit. You're going to play a shit ton of fetches and a shit ton of sacrifice lands because it's any permanent. Sacrifice a permanent, you're drawing a card. So you use all those fetches. So then you're going to use cards like Reminab Excavator, Crucible of Worlds, Get Rog Monster. Basically, what is happening is my Get Rog Monster, I think I already killed that deck because I made something else similar. And I think my Mazarek deck, Larry, he didn't not like him. He was just like, those decks are very similar. You know, when you play, like in a night, if I played one and then I went to play the other, it was like playing the same deck.
Yeah, I didn't feel like there was a difference playing.
They were completely different, and from my perspective, but I see what he was saying with it. This is basically going to kill both those decks and turn it into one.
Then you get to add red in there,
right?
And one card that I brought up earlier before the show, but Scape Shift is bonkers.
That'd be crazy
in here. So you sacrifice
draw,
any amount of lands that you want, and put that many lands into play from your grave or from your library. Draw that many cards, put that many 1/1 counters on Corvold, and profit.
Yeah,
like that, like anything like seems really good with it's kind of like the ability, but you could also just the card that's terrorizing standard right now, the land, that Field of the Dead.
Ruin. Field of the Dead. Field of the Dead. Field of Ruin is the destroying one that they don't have.
Yeah.
Field of
and
the
so
Dead
that's a land
zombies.
that if you have 7 or more different lands in play, you get to start making freaking 2/2 zombies, and which gives you more tokens to sacrifice to Corvold if you need it.
And you're playing 3 colors. You're going to have 7 different land pretty easily in this.
A card you brought up last week, Attrition, seems really good. Sacrifice a creature, destroy target creature, like put a 1/1 counter on Corvold, draw a card.
Thinking about, I might build this deck too. Thinking about this is, I would do more of like make Corval feel like the big threat. Have him protected, make him so he can one-shot somebody.
Yeah, But
at the same point, you're drawing all these cards by sacrificing, and the real threat is going to be in your hand. You're going to have something that actually, by you doing all this, I don't know what, but that's what I would, in my head, just talking us back and forth, I would have multiple other threats by being able to sacrifice and draw things. That's the cool thing about Mazarek. Mazarek is just...
You win out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that's why the Mazarek deck was my Scion and Spawn tokens, because they're 0-1s, and I can have about 30 of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll sacrifice half of them, and now my 0-1s are 15-16s, and my 1-1s are 16-16s. And Mazarek just killed you. Like that may be the trickery up the sleeve, but I don't know. This deck seems like it could be pretty powerful. Then you can go, what is the Aristocrats way?
Yeah, whenever you have a creature die, everybody, somebody or everybody loses life, you gain a life.
Grave Pact in there.
Dictate of Ravos, just like those advantages. Yeah, so we probably both have a deck like that. My Yawgmoth deck is like that, so I wouldn't go that route with Corvold. Because again, I've stated this many times, but it's just
try to build different things.
I like different decks because then when you switch a deck, you have a different feel with it, and different things are happening.
And that's why that was at the bottom of my list, but I had it in there as a way to build this deck.
And I don't know if we have to explain this, but sometimes when we don't talk about something for a certain card, it's kind of like that because I'm not thinking about. I don't want to make an Aristocrats deck.
I already made that.
Yeah, I already made that, so I don't really want to do that for this deck. Even though it'd be a good idea to mention it on the podcast.
Because if you haven't built one like that, this is a perfect time to do it.
Yeah. So Shattergain, I think Shattergain Brothers is right in this realm as well. So if you're looking at decks that might want to take that advantage, you can look at a Shattergain Brothers deck to see what is nice within there.
And I would highly suggest, if you're going to go that route, the Scion and Spawn tokens are a good way to do it.
That seems like a really good way.
They're free sacks and they give you mana, and then you're hurting everybody in the process. Okay, so the last one is Sir Grim. Grim?
No, not the last one.
Last 3 color.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry. Sir Gwen.
Sir Gwyn, yeah.
The
Knight Brawl deck.
This one it felt like it's very self-explanatory. This is the way you have to kind of go. You kind of have to go Knight Tribal. In a way,
I agree.
I think that's the way you'd have to go.
Yeah, I mean, just equipping for free to Knights
is pretty huge. It's made a lot of cards spike for free equipment. It's made a lot of equipment spike because of the free cost.
And so I'm not really interested in talking about Knights. Just go look them up, see what's a good one. Yeah. And I think that's the way you go. What are some cool equipment cards, though?
What are some?
What are some cool equipment?
I didn't pick out there's a lot of cool equipment cards.
Okay, fine. Fuck it. I'll talk about it, and then you talk about your...
I don't have anything more. The only thing
talk about
the
Leon and Shikari.
Dudes? What?
Leon and Shikari?
Whoa.
You didn't have that down, or did I?
You had...
It was just me.
Leon.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
you have
Leon and
Shikari's...
Shikari's, you can equip cards at instant speed.
Yeah,
since you're equipping for free with Sir Gwen, you're able to just switch them around whenever you need at instant speed with Leon and Shikari. And if you got Lightning Greaves, which it should be in a ton of decks, you get to protect any of your Knight creatures from, any of your creatures for free on spot removal.
I think this one isn't as exciting because I built this deck already. I have an equipment deck with these exact same colors.
Who's your equipment deck?
It's my partner commander.
Oh, Akiri Landslinger and the black-blue dude.
Yeah. So it's like...
Yeah, you're right.
I built this deck already. I'm like, okay. This is how I would do it. I just transfer everything over from that to this. Except what I wrote in my notes would be more of like... It'd be interesting to go wide instead of going... Voltron, which that deck is Voltron. This would be wide. I was thinking a kind of a cool angle would be Assemble the Legion?
Yeah, Assemble the Legion, make a ton of tokens, then equip them and attack to gain or draw those cards.
Then you have the new one that was in the last Commander set with the artifact that you get to make those masks that don't do anything until that creature's dead, and then they they're as strong as how many of those you have out, the statues.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of that
So
one.
I
But
was
that's
thinking,
in the populate deck.
yeah, so I was like, that'd be kind of cool to like go wide with this, because if you look at the ability, it's whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, you draw a card and lose life. Oh, that's a lot of life though. You can lose.
Who cares? You're drawing cards.
But you're drawing cards. But so is it for each attacking creature?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're able to go wide with it and you're attacking with 10 creatures, yeah, you lose 10.
Well, you'd have to have them equipped though too. And so,
yeah.
But
that's where I would think you go half and half equipment with creature going wide creatures. But I
10
think
cards probably seems unreasonable, but I can see you hitting like 4, 5, 6 pretty easy.
And still, that's 4, 5, 6 cards you're drawing into your hand, and but the easy way would be to do your knights.
Living Weapon could be really cool in this,
for
though.
sure, yeah. Because
then you just have the creature attached to the equipment right off the bat, and then you can attack with them. They fucking suck, but
the smart way to do this and the strong way to do this is to make a knight kind of tribal.
For sure.
Deck.
Well, I think you could have Living Weapon on top of Knight Tribal. Easy. I've tried to do this idea a couple different decks, like Captain Sisay, and I tried to do it in a couple other that I don't really remember because they're really bad. But the Cauldron cards equipment. There's one that gives haste. There's one that gives indestructibility, and then there's a sword that gives +5 and exiles a creature if it blocks, or like deals damage to it.
Is that the Power Rangers? Like what's the thing? Or is
Voltron?
Is it literally Voltron? I guess you're assembling Voltron.
So, and then when they're all into play, you pay 1, then you create a 4/4, which is really a 9/9 indestructible haste for strike. Like the card's really sweet
when
they're assembled. And
when our powers combine. Now I'm mixing up shows, and that's Captain Planet. Damn
might as well just fucking do them all. But the problem with them is normally the equip costs are really expensive and not really worth it. Mm-hmm. In this deck, making it free makes it really a lot better and more enticing for that. So I'd be more willing to go that route there. Some other cool, 2 others, Sunforger, which was in Feather, but
Feather. It went crazy for Feather.
Did that even for come free? Down? I don't know, but you can pay a red-white, unequip it, and then search for an instant that's red or white, 4 or less CMC, and play it for free. And then you just equip it again, red-white, do it over and over. It's almost like a machine gun at that point. And it looks like it's come down around $5, probably $4 or $5, and it seems really, really good in this.
Yeah, for sure.
Another really cool card that has gone up a bit is Heartseeker.
That just spiked this week.
Yeah, it's really heavy equip cost, but again with this for 0, and then you can tap a creature you control that it's equipped to, destroy another target creature, equip for free, do it a bunch of times, and you're machine gunning a ton of creatures.
What's the equipment? Isn't it the blade thing that equips for like 9 or 7 or something like that? And then when it deals damage, it gives it 1/0. When that creature deals damage, it flips over to that black demon thing.
Nah, it's not the equip. It comes out for 7 and equip for 1.
Dang, it's the flip around. Yeah, dang it.
So,
son of a bitch. Darksteel Plate, is that the right?
That's 3 and 3.
What's the one that attaches for 6, and when you attack, you get to destroy a target permanent?
Argentum Armor.
That's what I would
pretty
play.
Good in here. That card is really good. It's been reprinted a bunch, but that's when that gets equipped, you're like, oh, fuck.
Son of a bitch. There's your removal.
That can even hit land.
And is that all it has, or does it have indestructible on it?
No, it's not indestructible. But 6+6 and destroy.
Oh, that's 6+6. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's like the other thing. It has
something else that isn't just.
Wait,
destroy.
It turns your 2/2 knight into an 8/8 first strike. Destroy anything. Ends up because I always get scared about Argentum Armor because I'm like, fuck, they're gonna kill my stuff. They're going to kill my stuff.
I'm Lowry.
And about 9 times out of 10, they're like, I'm gonna kill yours and attack you with it. How about you attack somebody else? Then you can kill 2 things and fuck. That's just me complaining. It's the right thing.
You know what's funny is probably most of our play group listens to this podcast, and they're just going to keep doing it.
I know. When I complain,
they do it more.
It's an interesting dynamic because whenever I complain about something, they do it more. But whenever I'm being nice, they beat me up for it.
You can't win.
No.
You had one more, didn't you?
Ah, that's it.
Okay. We should move on to the red guy.
Torbran.
So this one's kind of crazy.
It tickles my fancy.
I think this one would be really fun. So first, right away, what this does is whenever a red source that you control would deal damage, it deals that damage +2.
Yeah.
And it's a straight up red commander. And if you go back to like the early days when I was playing, I told you this at the beginning of the podcast or before the podcast, but was it Chandelar or whatever?
Yeah, the PC video game back in the day.
To win, you played red decks. I mean, it was, and your early days even, if you really wanted to win, it was direct damage to the face. I know people do that now.
I'm pretty sure the very first tournament was won by goblins.
Oh, not surprised.
Yeah. Pretty sure.
There's so many interesting things you can do. One right off the bat I thought of was thinking was Pyrrhemia, where you're it's an enchantment. You tap 1 red and you deal 1 damage to every creature and every player. So you're only getting 1 damage. Everybody else is getting 3 damage.
3 damage to the face and all their creatures.
And then you tap it a second time and it does another 3
more
damage.
More than likely, Torbran is 4. And so you can do 3 and you're dealing 9 damage without Torbran dying to each creature, and
you're wiping everybody else's board except for yours.
Yeah, Pyrrhemia seems
face.
bonkers with Torbran, and when you brought that up, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, so then there's some other ones that you were thinking of that...
I think just those simple board wipes that are cheap, that aren't very good, turn really a lot better. Like Pyroclasm is 2 damage to each creature. But then it's 4 damage to all your opponent's creatures for 2 mana is really good.
And anything that you can divide, like, you're thinking of fireballs, but then there's better ones than fireball. I always bring up fireball because that's the original gangster.
That's a bad one to bring up.
But Comet Storm, you don't have to tap fireball was the poor man's Comet Storm because it's tap for each target. You have to tap 1 to change that target and do 1 damage. Comet Storm, you're just doing X damage, and you divide it how you choose, and you just go, all right, I'll hit you for 1 and 1 and 1 and 1.
But really, it's 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
Yeah.
And think, just like Lightning Bolt, 5 for 1 red mana?
I don't know if I would do that,
spell.
Though. I know, but I don't know if I would do that. It's so...
3 mana, or 3 damage. I mean, I don't ever play it. Yeah, I know. 3 damage really... I know that I rag on it and other people do, and I'm like, never play Lightning Bolt. But really, it ends up being pretty decent and can remove a lot of creatures. So I think it might be an underrated card, and in here, seems really good.
But I feel like you could find... I would want to hit multiple targets with that 2 damage thing.
Yeah.
So I would focus more on the Comet Storm type things and the Magma Quakes and all that stuff.
Yeah, Magnum Quake or Magnum. Come bubble.
Oh yeah.
Magma Quake.
Oh, I can't wait. We're double casting tonight. This is going to be a fun second episode.
But like it's like there's Fork Bolt, Twin Bolt, they're cards that deal there's one from Scars of Mirrodin as well. But it's like 1 damage to target anything, another 1 damage to target anything. That's 3 damage to anything, 3 damage to anything.
Take even what you just said there. Fork, add that with your Comet. Oh no, you couldn't. You couldn't do the Comet Storm, but Pyroclasm.
Why can't you do Comet Storm?
Well, because you couldn't fork because you would have to pay the X. Do you have to pay the X again? It wouldn't copy the spell, would it?
Yeah, it copies the spell.
Would it copy exactly what you paid for it?
Yes. That's how copying spells work.
Well, I understand, but I thought that with the X, you had it didn't take in the X. It would be
if
0.
You're playing an X spell for free, it
doesn't.
Okay. It doesn't. That's 0. But when you're copying a spell, it copies the X.
So you'd be able to go Comet Storm, pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things,
and then 2 red to fork
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things.
It'd be this. Yeah, it'd be the same exact copy.
But so you're doing 6 damage, 6 damage, 6 damage, 6 damage.
And so that's one of the things. Like with X values, oftentimes when you're copying a spell, the spell will state you can choose new targets. And that's the big thing, because if you're copying a spell and it doesn't state that, you can't change if you're copying like a charm that has 3 different things and you copy that spell, it has to be the same as
3.
what you've chosen out of the 3. So that's kind of the things. Even if it states you can choose new targets, you still have to choose the same mode that you chose. That's my understanding of it. Probably going to be wrong.
Let's do
It's been a while.
Yeah, we haven't done we were wrong.
I've missed that, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works.
Adam number 2, will you please let us know?
Goblin Bombardment, it seems sacrifice a creature, deal 3 damage to any target.
It's back on your top 5. Phase 5s.
Mana Barbs seems ridiculous.
You
Whenever
mentioned that
anybody
before the show.
like taps a land, they take 1 damage for each land, but that'd be 3 damage for your opponents. Whew,
yeah,
that's quick. And there's
Woof. Buzz's girlfriend.
Buzz your girlfriend. Woof.
Home Alone. There's Binkies that could work out, like dealing 1 damage from Goblin Sharpshooter, and whenever a creature dies, you get to untap it, but you can tap it. It's 3 damage instead of 1.
Well, what is it? Gutter Snipe.
Yeah, that's 4 damage.
The wall, the one from Guilds of Ravnica.
Did I write that down? Electrostatic Field.
Yeah,
I believe it is.
Fuck, there's some good cards you can put in here that really just puts up a defense and just you're wiping shit.
Yeah, Lobber Crew, same thing. Like tap it, deal 1 damage to all your opponents, but it's 3.
It seems like a powerful deck that you could totally build with this and just piss off and wipe the board, and people can't do anything about it.
There's a. There's an Eidolon from Theros block. It's red 2/2. Whenever an opponent, or whenever anybody plays a spell of converted mana cost 3 or less, they're dealt 2 damage. There's like 4 damage for your opponents. There's an enchantment that does that same thing.
I would say the biggest downfall of this deck would be running out of cards. So you would need
that's Red's problem, not just this problem.
But I was going to say, you would need to have some good generating of cards with this. Try to figure out some ways to get your cards back here.
I got one for you. In the new set, I think it's...
like we planned this, because we
didn't
at all.
No, it's not. Yeah, I was just looking at my list, trying to find out stuff that I haven't mentioned as the one card. So there's Circara the Bold from this new set, and it's tap, deal 1 damage to an opponent, which would be 3 in this. But whenever Circara deals damage, you can exile the top card of your library, and you can play that. So that gives you that little
card advantage there.
Yeah, and so there aren't a lot of cards like that. But I think
Experimental Frenzy. Once your hand's gone,
like that.
Throw that out there.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
The new one where you only can play 2 spells.
Fires of Invention. Which is insane, by the way.
Remember I was saying I like that card? You're like, I don't know about that card.
It's so good.
Yeah,
like
you don't know until
I have it in my Kenrith deck, but then I was just like, this is really good in my Xantcha deck, because I just play 2 enchantments that lock down the board or have some type of effect, and then I can pay 6 to draw 2 cards, deal 4.
Yeah, it's
like it
being
just
used
gives
in a
so
lot of
much
places right now.
Yeah, it's crazy good. That's all I got.
Okay, we should probably move on because we're like an hour and 20 minutes. We still have 2 more things to talk about.
Dollars to duels.
Dollars to duels. All right. So if you guys are following us on Twitter, you might have already seen this. I kind of was excited, and I pre-ejaculated this out on Twitter last night.
You've been really excited. You have a lot of notes. I might just let you talk on this.
Yeah, you're gonna go get a beer while I just talk. So I kind of... You're really gonna go get a beer?
I think it's a good idea.
No, because I'm not just gonna talk to myself while I do this. Oh, you got a beer over there. All right, it's just across. I think you're gonna actually go upstairs and get a beer. So the idea of this, I didn't realize that there was a thing called... What is the thing that this is similar?
Pact of Power.
Pact of Power. So you're unbuttoning the pants. Oh man,
just the belt. Getting comfy.
So Pact of Power, what that is you buy a pack, and the idea is you trade the cards from that pack, and you keep trading and trading until you get a
piece of power.
For Commander players, who cares? We don't play. There's only one card that isn't banned. I believe that's Time Walk, right?
Oh,
that's.
I don't even look at it. I don't own it.
Yeah. So I was thinking, I was like, well, what I want to do is be able to take a spec that we've had over the years and keep track of it. Go, okay, I'm going to this one spiked. I'm selling this. Take that money and buy another card and do this and keep going up. Because the thing is we've been doing that. I keep track of my sales of each card. I'm like, okay,
but you don't necessarily have like a focus.
Yeah, I have a ton of spec cards just sitting in my safe.
Oh, good for you.
Just waiting to go, whatever. I don't know how much I've put in and how much I have sitting there. And so I was like, this would be kind of fun to actually track something from the start and see if I can get a goal. And so I was thinking, what is something that us Commander players all want? And
value duels.
Dual lands. Everybody wants duels. It's the most efficient way. That's what we have said that you need to get at some point if you can. I think you're only missing 1, 2.
I'm missing red, blue, green, blue,
black,
green, black.
green. Yeah. No, don't you miss? You have Underground Sea
and black, blue. So I have 6 out of the 10.
So
I'm missing 4. Yeah.
I was either thinking that or Gaia's Cradle because it's like, that fits me. It's easy.
I don't have that.
Yeah, I was like, go for 1 card. I was like, it'd be easier to go for that.
Okay, and you want other people to kind of jump on board that are listeners to do this. So maybe what it is,
$1 to duels.
$1 to duels. But maybe they don't have to exactly go for duels. You can
have a different target.
It could be a lot less money for that. Just be like, I want to be able to trade or sell up into.
Still hashtag it $1 to duels.
Yeah,
but this was just kind of.
We'll never find $1 to Ren 6.
Yeah, right. I think that's what was it. Besh that wrote that.
Yeah.
And I tried to look for a GIF.
I won't remember that.
I was trying to find a GIF that was the "Oh, good for you."
Oh, good for you.
Whatchamacallit, what's his name? Why am I fucking forgetting?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. And they didn't have anything, so I was just like, I had Cindy help me. She's like, oh, that one's pretty funny. And then I wrote Christian Bale underneath it. But anyways, yeah, so hashtag $1 to duels, not with the number 2, but it's duels is what I want to
do this.
And I do want people to jump on board if you want to. Like, feel free to jump on with this. I want to see the path. And kind of, I broke down a little rule list. Well, should I start with that or should I talk about why? Seems like it's fun. That's what I wrote.
Do you want me to talk about why I don't want to do it?
Not yet, because
Okay.
I think that's going to go in with the problems with it, the difficulties. One thing that this reminded me of, my brother, when we played, and I've mentioned it before, I think a couple weeks ago we talked about favorite video games. Favorite video game of all time for me was Diablo 2, Lord of Destruction, LOD. My brother also played it. He never played the game. He just traded. And so he would play the game for a little bit, get an item, and then he'd trade that item for something, and then he'd trade this back and forth. He would do so many trades, and he'd spend hours not ever playing Diablo, where I was doing dungeon runs, just kept doing them over and over and finding stuff. He had the most elite stuff in the game just by trading. And he'd start with crap, and
yeah.
That's kind of what triggered it. I was like, I want to kind of start that to see how far we can get, because we are a spec.
We quit.
Yeah. We just have had other things we've spec'd on that we've
I still like go for cards and stuff like that. I just, it's hard to talk about when you have a limited time.
Yeah. Well, there isn't anything that we've talked about the Throne of Eldraine cards, the foil stuff, the art, and all that.
If we sound more excited about a card than another, we're probably more likely looking at that card as well.
Yeah, we just haven't put it as a segment for a little bit. So that kind of got me excited about doing this, trying to see if I could actually do it. And setting a goal for something, because I have tons of money.
Oh, good for you.
Or in cards that are just sitting.
Good for you.
Yeah, shit. I'm going to have to do that to myself. Damn. The thing is like I have money tied up in the cards that I've already purchased that are
That's
specs.
probably a better way of putting it.
Yeah. Money tied up in cards that I've purchased. And that are specs just waiting to pop or waiting for the right time to sell them. I want to see one where I'm keeping track of it from the beginning and see if I can get to the end. And actually, if I get to that, getting the full playset. I already have a playset of the duels, but what my plan is to take those and use that for my boys' college fund and then continue to do it. So the idea, again, start with a spec that's at or under $1. and you want it to pop because you don't want to sell it for $1 because you spent $1 on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to take into account all fees, all shipping, everything that comes into that. So you minus that from whatever you sold it for.
That makes it tougher.
Yeah. But then to make it a little more interesting, I was thinking you could do 10 separate specs going at once.
I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, like if you're really into moving cards a lot, I think that's more feasible for someone like you that's doing it a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for people that are wanting or thinking about trying to get in, I don't think you need 10. I think
I said up to 10 with it.
Like for us, we're trying to move it along. This is a process that could take a long time.
Yeah, so that's
stealing from later.
Yeah, you're taking from my. No, I'm going to kind of talk about it at the same point. But that's why I wanted 10 at once, because then you can have moving pieces going at all times, and you're not going to go. I would highly suggest you don't go do the exact same thing with all 10 of those specs, because you want them to be different to see different routes that you go.
Yeah.
But you must keep track of each one individually. You're going to hit a dead end with some of these. For example, that's in my other notes for later.
You're trying to steal from your list.
The other thing is trades. If you do a trade, keep a tally of what you traded. If you just straight up met somebody at the card store or friend or something like, hey, I'll trade you this for that. Keep track of what you traded for, so that when you trade it later or sell it later, you have a...
Yeah. And I think, and again, do we talk about this later, what I'm talking about?
Yeah, just go ahead, talk about it now.
Okay, so one thing about trading is oftentimes if you're trying to trade up, you are trying to trade 2 or 3 pieces. Let's go with like a Renin 6 or whatever. And you don't want to let go of like an $89 or $90 card to get a Renin 6. You generally will go like 45 or 40, 2 $40 cards, maybe a little bit extra value, or 3 that are sitting at like 30, so 30, 60, 90, and try and get a little bit back for even. Here, you want to get to that point to be able to do it, but you're starting at that dollar card that you first started speccing on. So you want to get up to the point. That's that conceptual. Sure, you can get there. The thing is we're starting at $1, and that's where we're asking people to start at to see if they can get up to that Renin 6 or that duel or whatever.
Yeah, and
so that's the easy part. If you have $30 cards that you're looking to let go, or $50 cards to get into your duels, you can do that as well. But we're trying to start way back.
And that's this is because we could start with things that have spiked that are already at $40 or $50.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't really want.
You can start at a higher rate. Like I bought foils that are $5-10, and they've gone up from now, and that'd be easier to get into. But it's more
like some of the reserve list cards that we did buy that are
yeah it'd be a lot easier when it comes to that kind of thing.
But so that's where adding a little challenge to it. I think it's just adding the $1 and working your way up at some point. But see, at that point, like, unless Renin 6 is your goal, Renin 6 might not be a target. Like if I had that money right now off of one of these dollars that got up to that, that wouldn't be a target. So that's another aspect to this. It's a different way of speccing, because you're trying to get cards that you think are underpriced that are going to go up quicker. You don't want to target something that's like, it's a good card, I think it's a high price right now, I don't know if it'll go up or go down. That isn't probably something you should target. You want to get something that just seems one
prime
card
to go.
And we'll get into that a little bit too here. Then I also wrote in here, take advantage of eBay deals and TCG deals. So if there's like a 8% off or 8% back, take advantage of that to buy your cards at that point. Be like, okay, or have your money at the point. You have $10 you're waiting to spend. You don't have to go, if you sell the card, you don't have to go buy something right away. You can be picky and choosy on it. You wait for an eBay deal, you get that money back, so that kind of adds into your money. There's free money right there. It's 8%. If you have $100 into something, well, there's freaking free $8 right into your account to add up your totals.
Here's a question: if somebody out there wants to start at a lower total, I know you're talking about one card around $1 where you spec'd at, or a little bit less. But what if you spec'd on something that was 50 cents? Could you do 2 cards at 50 cents that were $1 and then go from there and split it out? Is that something that you would consider to do if you were at that point?
I would just say the one, if you can.
Just the one?
I'd like, I like it to be a 1-card starting point. I guess the part that I'm having trouble with is the card that I'm going to start with is the, what's his name again?
Archfiend of Ifnir.
Yeah, and I have about 50, 60 of those in foil.
Yeah, for sure.
So do I start with 10 of those and sell them all? Right now they're at $5-6 depending on...
I think so. Like, just because it's happening right now. And that I think right now that's where I would go. And then you're doing different things.
Not doing the exact same thing, because then that's really boring. I also put on your buy list count. You just need to keep track of your buy list. So, like, if you send in 50 cards to Card Kingdom and one of the cards is one of your specs, just keep track of what they bought it for. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to use that money in that account to buy something else. So that's the hard part, is buy list. You'll have to buy that from card, unless you get cash back. You know, you can either do credit, which gets you more, or you do cash back. And then the goal is to acquire every duel. Now the problems.
There's some of those.
The back page. So one thing that we ran into, and I brought it up to Larry, and I wanted him to jump into this, was I wanted Larry to kind of go the trading aspect, trying to use CardSphere. It's really hard to do CardSphere because why? For this,
I don't know.
Well, because you have an account and you have other things.
One thing is generally, like, you would have to specify. Okay, yeah. So one account thing. You can't really have multiple accounts within a digital world, really, because they kind of look at that a little bit. Like mail fraud. Mm-hmm. So they'll shut you down. And so I do want other cards, but if I was doing this, I'd have to be much more specific and choosy, which would stop me from getting cards that I want to be collecting and playing with and stuff like that.
And that's what you've been getting weekly is CardSphere cards that you just want. You can't say, I want this, and this. You have a wide list of these are cards
so that I'm
want.
having things consistently coming in. Yeah, and I don't normally when I'm trading away cards on CardSphere, I'm not looking to flip those into specs. I'm flipping those into cards that I want, so that I'm not buying them. Yeah, that like I don't want to spend that money.
They're not specs.
I'd much rather spend, like I've said, I'd much rather spend 50 cents on a card that I think is going to go up, and it does, and then I trade it away for $2-3, and then I'm able to get the best I've done. I got a Teferi Protector of Dominaria a couple weeks ago for 17.
Nice.
And I was really happy with it, but that's the best I've done in the last like 2 years. Normally I'll get at like $10 or lower. That's pretty easy to acquire. And so like if I was going, well, I'm going to send my Teferis, and I can send those out and flip those into what? Like it's hard to choose, and it's like, no, I don't want to count those crappy cards that I wanted, that I not crappy, but cheaper cards that I could easily have got, but I don't want to narrow the cards that are coming in because I want the cards coming in.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to flip that into a duel.
Yeah.
Because duels, even if you got the money, people aren't going to want to send them. That's really, you're going to have to put like, I will pay you 100%, 200% on a duel from CardSphere for you to send it to me to be realistic. And I just, that isn't something normally that I want to.
Yeah.
And that makes it hard. Like CardSphere and Puka trades where you're getting value, you got to be realistic in what you're going to be receiving.
That's why I wish the Salvation was still up, because then you could actually do trades.
Which is a lot more time consuming, though. But yes, that is true. And when I was on Salvation, I did get duels. But I was sending... You generally send value. So I had...
You had to send more to get what you wanted.
Yeah, my best trade, I ended up getting 2 scrub lands and a Tundra. And this was years ago, so it wasn't as high value, but I got about $220 in trade value.
How much did you trade away?
I probably sent him almost, it was like $280, $300. I sent him Liliana the Veil, Sunken Ruins foil, the red-black Scar lands. Like, I sent a lot of good cards, and I was like maybe 6 months later, his value outdid my duels that I got. I was like, holy I got fucked. But it was the only way I could get duels, like just way over trading. Now it's about equal when I look at it. Yeah, I was like, I didn't, and I still didn't regret it at that point either. But I was like, I got duels. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so here, like, it's just, I think, a lot more work. But the way you're doing it when it comes to selling, you're able to sell those and you're pooling money, and then you can buy what you feel is proper. And nobody's going to be like, no, I'm not going to sell that to you even though I have it marked for that. They're going to send it to you.
Yeah.
So there isn't that barter and, like,
I don't have a problem. If I have the $5,000, I can buy the dual lands. You know, I don't have to. Yeah,
exactly. They nobody's going to be like, no, I have these for sale for $5,000, but I'm not going to sell them to you, even though you're going to give me like it. That's just not how it's a lot more difficult. Selling
and
works.
I didn't think of that when I was bringing it up to you, and I was like, why isn't Larry interested in doing it? I was like, oh, once we talked about it, I was like, that makes more sense.
And the other things that I've noticed, I saw Pact to Power, and I told you about it when I was like, this is a thing. It's called Pact to Power. But people, when they're doing it, when I read it, I was like, I don't even want to deal with these people, much less do it myself. But the people were really aggressive when it came to give me value. I'm going Pact to Power.
Yeah, and see, I don't want to
give me cards. You don't have to do that.
Yeah,
you don't have to because it's all money based.
Yeah,
you're not trying to go like, hey, I'm turning this lightning bolt. Can you give me a little bit extra value and toss in whatever cards you're fine with?
Yeah, and I feel like that's cheating.
But that's how people did it. And then they had this wide array, and they're like, oh, help me out. It just felt like begging.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, I'm that Azorius personality, so I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking give you value. I'll equal to equal. I'm not gonna cheat you. I don't want to be cheated, and I got value that I'm trying to get too. And so I'm perfectly fine with equal. If I feel like somebody's getting unvalued, I'll give them the value or stuff like that. But that it rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't like that. That's not the way. Like you're saying, I don't want that to be this way. I want this to be, hey, I turned this spec into all the dual lands,
and so it's clean and clear and concise, and you got that trail. With this,
yeah, that seems like, hey, I'm doing this. Help me out. Give me extra.
Exactly.
Give me extra. Well, then just give me free cards. How about you just give me, that doesn't.
And that's not nearly like Card Sphere and like Puka Trade, if you're still on there, like those sites just takes that out of whatever. But if you're in person, like, oh, I'm going for Pact for Power. It's like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah, who cares? So, how does
but some people might.
Yeah.
That's just like adding in cards for free. I was like, well, I'm going to add this card into my Pact to Power. It's like, no.
Here's a token for you.
Yeah. I mean, some people were tossing in tokens. Yeah. Like, that was a thing. And it was like, oh, can I add this in for a little bit of value? I was like, I don't need a fucking goblin token. So I just didn't deal with those people. I didn't like doing it.
What, that was on Salvation that was happening?
Yeah, the Salvation had, I mean, it wasn't a lot, but...
occasionally run across people.
Yeah, it was a thing.
So the problems I was seeing with this is not problems, just things that you're going to run into as doing this. Number one thing is, what if a spec doesn't pop? It might not.
It could
pop.
fail right away. That's why you're choosing ones that are popping right now.
For example, what if Kess? For example, I put this as a insta spec. It went up right after I bought it. What'd you say?
I said I fucked up Spanish.
No. I can't wait to listen.
Por ejemplo. There we go. That might be example.
Okay.
For example.
Whatever. This is a Spanish episode. It's all in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. Do you know what that's from?
Yeah. I gift that over to combo
number
5.
You did do that.
And apparently his was French. It was B-U-U-U-U with like the exclamation points on each side. I picked up on the exclamation points.
Because that's Spanish normally.
It could be Latin though. And so French and Spanish are pretty close things. It's normally
question marks on the each.
That's Spanish too, but it could be French. I know nothing about French at all.
I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah. I love it.
Baxter.
You ate a whole wheel of cheese?
And you pooped in the refrigerator. I'm not even mad. I'm impressed.
God, that movie.
That was an awesome.
Anchorman.
The second one sucked.
I don't think it sucked. It just wasn't
funny,
as good.
But it wasn't. Yeah,
it wasn't nearly as good.
All right, so my example was Kess. When Kess popped, when was revealed in Modern Horizons, I was like, oh, I'll go for the foils because this card's it's mythic. Blah blah blah. Well, those are now half the price when
you bought them.
Yeah, so I bought them for 6. They're now 3.
Spec.
Bad spec.
I don't think it's a bad spec, but because I see it going up if somebody makes a deck with it. I think it's powerful enough to make a deck with it.
Just no one has done it.
Nobody has done it because there's probably other, they banned Hogak. They're like Urza's
talks of
nuts.
other things banning because of it. Yeah,
there's Modern Horizons fucked a lot of shit up.
Yeah,
that's why it's a really good set.
Yeah, still go after those. I'm still gonna buy more boxes. I think because I have eBay credit I'm about to spend on it. So,
but Kess is a good card.
Yeah,
at least pre Modern Horizons.
So, but that's the thing is you could run into something like that, and you don't. That's why you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. But if that was happening at the time, I'd be like, oh, this is it for sure, whatever. You're going to want to research a little bit more when you're doing this. You're going to want to go for specs that, you check it out, see, does it make sense that it's going to go up? Mainly EDH players, or if it gets played in other formats. But EDH is a good one. That'll take a little longer.
I think go after formats that you're knowledgeable about.
Correct, yeah. And then... also check the inventory. Go on TCG and see what their inventory is looking like. So that one I can never remember that I am going to be selling, the demon
Archfiend of Ifnir.
I always forget the Archfiend.
You're really excited about that card.
So
it's good. We've talked about this card a ton. It's really good.
Yeah,
and so it caught on in Modern.
We spec'd on it when it came out, and not on the cast because we weren't doing the cast at the time, but. I bought a whole bunch of non-foils. It was before my non-foil days.
And again, this is one I have 20-ish of these.
Whoa, and that's a lot for Lowry.
That is a lot for me. Normally, I stop at like 12.
Yeah.
And this one, it was just like, add it to the cart. I got, a bunch. And I got a couple that I'm doing with that right now, like Backdraft Dragon. I think that card is fucking nuts.
Dragon?
It's from the Commander set.
Oh, okay.
It's like 35 cents right now.
Ooh.
It's nuts.
Might have to pick that up. But you're going to want to check out inventory, check out TCG, see what is there. If it's low on inventory, you want to get something that's going to be moving faster. So that's the biggest problem you're going to have here, and why I added the go 10 deep with it, 10 different specs going at once, because... you're probably not going to see a lot of movement on certain cards. Certain paths that you have might not move for 6 months, a year. 2 years.
Some of them, like that we've spec'd on in the past, and we do Smith specs this week. It's not something that we're saying, get this, it's going off in the next month or two.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's like, this is something that's undervalued. If you get it, it's good enough to use. If it doesn't go up, you're
still using it. Yeah,
you're still using it.
This is a different way of speccing. You're going for things that you're wanting to move
more
quicker.
Aggressive.
Yeah. And you could even go for... right now, honestly, if I had this going and I had $180, one of my specs up to $180, I'd freaking buy a Modern Horizons box right there.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't get something that got my value back, I would just sit on those cards because it's going to go up. Like the cards are so good in that. That's what I would be targeting. So that you could do even stuff like that. Go for boxes and things. Some other problems.
Do you want to say $1 to Modern Horizon box?
No,
hashtag?
I want to get...
That's an awful hashtag, by the way.
That is very... I think the one I came up with is awesome. $1 to duels. I wrote also package early on with lower price cards. You're not going to necessarily get tracking. And it could get lost. At that point, what I would say is if somebody bought your card for $10 and it gets lost... you just refund your $10. Start it it
doesn't count.
Doesn't count towards losing it. Is what I would say there.
I think it complicates things.
Yeah. And then the other side of it, when you are starting to sell bigger cards, or more used cards, you have the potential of getting fake cards. You're going to want to watch out for that, especially the dual lands. The dual lands are probably, I don't know if they're probably up there with one of the most fake cards out there. So
I think a nice thing though is like, since you're purchasing, it allows you can purchase from a retail store,
right?
Like Star City Games or Card Kingdom. They're not going to send you a fake piece of shit.
I was literally going to say that the final buying the duels, I would almost buy it from Card Kingdom or any of the big stores, because like you just said,
you're getting the real McCoy.
Yeah.
Who's McCoy? Why was it McCoy?
You remember Ray McCoy?
I know.
Oh yeah,
Which
you
was
went to
strange.
school with him. And
Yeah,
I went to school with him in elementary and in junior high and high school, and then you went to
That's
college.
weird how
with
that
him.
was. And anybody out
He's
in
an
like San
interesting
Francisco, so like we both have. So you went to high school with Ray McCoy. I went to college with the same Ray McCoy.
Yeah.
But I went to high school with Jeff Beamish, and then you went to college with Jeff Beamish. Somebody might know him out in California. He's a weatherman out there.
He was in Arizona until a couple of years ago.
So yeah, we both know him. He's an enjoyable character.
Interesting. That's all I'm going to say.
He's grown up. He's a good guy.
I haven't seen him since he wasn't grown up. Oh,
we know people.
Joys of people. Okay.
We know famous people, right?
Well, he used that line at the bar when we were on a college TV station. Tried to do that as a pickup
But he was
line.
really good.
He is
We're
good.
talking about Beamish.
But the thing is he was like, he used the "Do you know who we are?"
Yeah, that's kind of low.
Give you a little background.
But shit, he was
I went
good.
to school for meteorology, and we did some TV stuff, and it was on a college TV station, and you don't go to the bar and try to pick up ladies by using that line.
Not to insult you or anything. We're just because we're talking about Beamish here. But he was on our high school news thing on every Friday. You know,
he had some practice.
He was like when he sat down. I'd rather at that point in time. I'd rather watch him than the news.
Yeah,
like he was, in my opinion, just as good as they were in high school.
When you got him off camera, was not the most fun to hang out with. Hopefully, you're not a listener, Beamish, or somebody that knows
I doubt
you.
it. But if somebody does, you
were cool sometimes.
He's grown up. He's an adult now.
Yeah. Might cut all that. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you probably should. You should probably cut the Ray stuff too.
The Ray stuff?
Yeah, just get rid of, because they're not listening.
Everything.
All of it. That was
I'll be impressed if somehow it gets to either of them, because then it means that we have...
It means we're probably going to get sued.
Yeah, right. What is it, defamation of character or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, so last couple things, because we are really running long, and I think we're going to have to move hashtag anal questions to next week, because...
We could do that.
Is very long already. Yeah. That's what she said. The initial startup, I think, is one of the most difficult things. So if you haven't already had a spec that's under $1 and it's spiked, I think that's going to be the most difficult thing. Finding something now to get that you think is going to go, that's under $1, it's going to go up. You know, I was looking through my list. The hard part is recently we've been doing a lot of foils, and I kind of was able to go back over the last 2 years.
See, I do more dollar specs. You don't, and you don't listen to me, and then you do your thing.
Yeah.
And now you're regretting it.
No, I got my, what's his name again? Archfiend
of Ifnir.
I got it this time.
Ifnir.
That one's actually that's one of my most recent ones.
Mm-hmm.
Recent and old. Because I did spec them when it first came out, but then I went for the foils this time for all of them. So
if I'm going through bulk bins and I find an Archfiend of Ifnir, I'm like, mine.
Take it. Yeah. I wish I could.
Mine.
I wish we had that on camera because it was a good facial expression. Mine. And then let's see. Last thing is only a handful under $1. Oh yeah. The last thing is rising prices of duels. That's going to be probably the interesting thing. If this takes year, 2 years.
Do you have a prediction of how long this would take?
No, I actually don't. I'm hoping a 5-year plan is what I'm hoping.
Okay, that's
doable,
realistic-ish.
Yeah, but
I mean, it depends on how, because you're going to be changing the way that you're speccing.
Yeah. That's the exact
having
thing.
Those different branches could be interesting, and it sounds like a really good experiment for you as well, because you're able to go, okay, theoretically, I want to go this way, and I want to go this way, and then you can see which way worked out the best for you. Maybe it's not a bad idea to put down notes for going, I'm doing this because I'm thinking this.
That's probably a good idea. Yeah, because I'm going to do a tree. I'm going to keep track of it on a spreadsheet. And I'm going to put a date of everything and when it sold, what it sold for, shipping costs, all that. But it might be a good idea to put little notes why I went that way. Maybe because I'm like, I think this card might go up, be used in EDH, or going to be used in Modern or something like that. That might be or an expected turnaround on things too. Could be a like 6-month turnaround, 5-month turnaround, try to get money back from it. But anyway, so And I'm probably going to take advantage of the eBay deals. That's probably going to be a big thing because I think I can get, you're getting 8% back.
You're getting much better value.
Yeah, so you're automatically gaining money by selling or by buying a card, So that's the gist of it. It was really long. Not the whole episode.
We're going to skip A&L questions.
Sorry, Jeremy. Next week, buddy. It'll be
like an hour from now.
Yeah, next week.
Time travel.
But yeah, I mean, if you guys want to jump on board with it, I'd love to see. And that's the thing is, like, I'll keep updating if anything happens. And if Lowry jumps on, maybe later he's like, "Hey, you're making progress. I'm gonna start selling on eBay because I've never done it before." And he talks.
Yeah, I really should still. I should try and do that.
Maybe this forces you to do that.
No, I mean, I literally have like 2 3-inch stacks of cards that I would like to sell. They're just off to the side.
Do it, Lowry.
I don't know.
I think it's gonna be fun. I'm excited to do it to see if I can do it, get it up there, and then if I accomplish
I believe you can get it up.
I have 2 kids. But I'm jinx.
You owe me a Coke.
All right. Well, that should be it for this week's episode. Next week, what are we doing next week? Which is actually right after this. We are doing
Power Level.
Power Level. That's going to be a fun episode. We're going to kind of talk about how to judge the power level of your deck. I've heard people talk about power level. We don't typically
give
that.
Numbers.
Yeah, they don't. They give numbers. I don't know how they get those numbers.
And I'll admit, we don't know how we get those.
Yeah.
So we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah. So
and
that'll
apply
be next
those
week's
numbers.
Episode
maybe.
And then is there anything else for next week? ANL question, and one other thing.
Oh, list of don't kill spells for Commander.
Kill him
along with spells that don't kill.
But
no, it's not a joke.
Oh. I like how you looked at your notes to make sure. Wait, is that a joke? Nope, it's not a joke. It's like your notepad was talking to you like, yeah, Lowry, that was a joke. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Bye.